Hi, I'm Danny Newman, co-founder and CEO of Roximity. Roximity is a location-based analytics and advertising platform primarily via iBeacons. We had the opportunity to present during the Startup Showcase at last year's Local Data Summit, and I know it has led to some really amazing connections and opportunities with a number of you. I encourage all of you to reach out and connect with these startups later today. Laura just reminded me of this. In 2011, just a month after our company, Roximity, won the TechCrunch Disrupt Hackathon, heavy in the local space and location space, we went to the very first street fight event in New York, and it actually really helped us launch everything that we are doing. And so we really see this opportunity and this event as a big, point in our history, and continues to be a big resource for us. So I'm really excited about this part of the summit. This is the Startup Showcase. Today we've got 4 of Colorado's hottest startups, all working within the local data space. There's so much innovation in this area, and to see how each of these companies, each of these startups are approaching this market is just really exciting. Each startup will do a quick, will do a presentation and followed by a quick Q&A. First up, we have Rishi from Parkifi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rishi Malik, CTO and co-founder of Parkifi. There are over 100 million parking spots in the US alone, none of which render in PowerPoint, apparently. 100 million spots, and it still takes the average driver 15 minutes to find a parking spot. Up to 30% of city traffic is caused by drivers circling the block looking for a spot. Parking managers and cities alike are desperately searching for a solution. In the last few years, the best solutions we've got are mobile apps and credit card readers. Parkifi changes all that. With Parkifi, we provide the data that they need in real time at their fingertips. And that is so powerful that we already have customers across the US, including the largest owner and operator of shopping malls with a plan to deploy to over 40 of their locations. Right now, as I speak, just in Denver alone, just for one parking management company, they have 5 people out there driving around, going lot by lot and spot by spot, counting cars, seeing where open spots are, ticketing if necessary, just to make sure that people have paid. It's manual, it's expensive, but worst of all, by the time the managers get that data, it's already out of date, and they can't do anything with it. With Parkifi, they just log into our dashboard, and at a glance, they can see how all their properties are performing on a map. They can see their occupancies across their portfolio, and they can see alerts where lots are filling up, where they should change pricing, and where they need to send enforcement. But we don't just stop there. As consumers, we've all felt the pain of driving around looking for a spot and circling and circling and circling. Maybe you even decide, hey, I'm just going to go to this parking garage, where they're happy to give you a ticket, open the gate, and let you in, only for you to then find out that there's still not a spot for you. Now, with us, open the app. And at your fingertips, you have all the open spots nearby. You can get directions right to the spot that you want to go to, and we can even help you pay for it. We do all of this through our low-cost, easy-to-install sensors. Now, we're not the first company to think about using sensors to do this, but our competitors drill holes, damage your property, and charge you $300 for the privilege to do so. Our sensors cost us about $10. We charge our customers nothing for them, for the installation, and it's so easy to install, my 2-year-old son can do it. And I think he looks pretty cute doing it. With marketing a problem this big, we knew we needed a good team. My co-founder Ryan and I have over 10 years of development experience building and scaling engineering teams at companies like Microsoft and SendGrid. And we've assembled a team of advisors from amazing companies that have all been there and done this themselves. We all sitting here know the good decisions are based on data. With Parkifi, that data is now available at the fingertips of anyone who needs it. So instead of driving around looking for a spot, you could simply say, Siri, where should I park? Thank you.
Very, very cool stuff. How to tell us a little bit how you kind of came up with this idea? Why parking?
Sure. So parking isn't the first thing that we were thinking of when we said, hey, let's build a tech company. But as we were working through ideas, it was actually a problem that we just kept running into. Both my co-founder and I worked at SendGrid, and we'd be going somewhere for a meeting talking about what we wanted to build and struggled to find parking. And then it finally dawned on us, hey, this is the problem we should solve. And the more we got into it, the more we realized that it's a problem everyone has. It's a problem that has existed for a long time, and there frankly isn't a good solution on the horizon. So let's figure out, see what we can do to solve it.
When you guys are out there in the market, are you guys going after private parking garages, city municipalities? Who's your target market for this?
Sure. We're initially starting with private companies. We do have cities already in our portfolio that we're deploying with, but they tend to move slower. You need to wait for budget cycles and things like that. So our primary customers right now are private companies, but we're not limited there. You know, it can be private management companies. It can be, it can be shopping malls. Anyone who owns a lot, as well as cities, if they have the time.
Anybody have any questions?
All right. Thank you.
I've got one more for you because it's
Sure.
relevant. So you guys are integrated on mobile phones currently. Are you guys doing any kind of integrations directly into the cars?
We're in some very early stage talks about that. Most car manufacturers are already kind of interested in this line of things. So while we're just building the app now, it's definitely something on our roadmap. Thanks.
Up next, we have Devon from Native. Native has been blowing up the internet the past few weeks, and I think he will tell you the story of kind of what they've done originally and how they pivoted into what they're doing now.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So I thought instead of just pitching what we do, I would tell a little story of what we've been up to for the last 3 months. So at Native, we give everyone their own personal travel assistant who can make travel easier, happier, and safer. We didn't always do this. We used to build a social network for college students. Pretty massive pivot. 6 months ago, we were kind of looking at this problem with structured and unstructured local data. Structured data looked like this. You had a name, you had the hours that a restaurant was open, you had the address, et cetera. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to build a social network that personalized types of recommendations for locations that college students could go to, because at the time we were college students ourselves. But we saw a lot of unstructured data getting thrown around campuses, like, hey, what's your favorite place to eat in Boulder? Another person would say, I love Pizzeria Locale. You definitely need to get the pudding. It's so tasty. So this unstructured data, the problem with it is that it was hard to parse. So we had college students having tons of really interesting conversations in unstructured data, yet what we were trying to do is we were trying to build a recommendation engine for structured data. So the company that we were building was called Varsity. And the idea was, you'd open your phone and you get a new recommendation every day of a local place to go. The problem was we didn't have that local database of structured data. So this is what the application looked like. You'd get a recommendation every day. So we did a little experiment with unstructured data called Concierge. And what we did is we built an interface where you could basically ask a concierge any question that you had about your local area. That concierge would be a low-cost college student that lived in that area, and they would answer your question best they could. If they couldn't answer their question, then they'd ask all their friends, and they'd find the answer for you. And it worked really, really, really well. We saw much higher engagement with this kind of ad hoc asking questions about what was was going on in the area, rather than trying to be way smarter than the consumer and learn stuff about the consumer and then give them recommendations. What we found was that data collection, like building the next Foursquare, had kind of become commoditized. But data recall was the real challenge, and what we were using real people to cause that data recall. So the big lesson that we learned is that it's easier to give people what they want when they ask for it instead of guessing what they want. Kind of related to several things that people have said today about when you influence a customer's point of purchase, if that point of purchase can be when they ask for the product and then you can insert yourself in there, then the conversion rate's much higher. Let's look at a common example in local, such as Foursquare. You would think that this place page for the kitchen next door would be the first thing that you see when you search for something in Foursquare. But that's actually not true in their latest app redesign. Instead, you see this page, which is the tips page, and then the place details are kind of what's after. So what Foursquare found was that the thing that people are really interested in are the local conversations that people are having about a place, not the commoditized data about that place. So that's where we started with native. When we decided to pivot the company and build native, we took our learnings from Concierge and built a product for travel. And the reason why we built a product for travel, less important for discussion here, but we saw local and travel as being very similar, just looking at a different consumer. And the consumer that we looked at was small business travelers who travel a lot, are often in new locales that they have no idea what's going on in that locale, and they need help. And then we realized, that's kind of what travel agents did in the 70s and 80s. And we thought, what if we could take travel agents and turn that into a SaaS product? So what we're doing today is we're delivering personal travel assistants for $25 a month. And so these personal travel assistants are accessible via chat, and you can ask them any question about your local area. And then we're deploying the exact same type of network that we did with our concierge experiment, but in the international space. So we're hiring out travel assistants all across the world that can book flights, they can deal with flight problems, but more interestingly for this conversation, they can help surface local data that's interesting. So this is what the app looks like. You log in, you get introduced to your concierge, and then you can basically ask anything. And we present data in these really, really beautiful flight cards. So what we're able to do is we're able to create structured data from unstructured conversations. So the person says like, hey, I need a flight to New York. And all of a sudden we're able to build this really beautiful flight card that we can just insert right into the chat conversation. And we can do the exact same thing for local place marks as well. So instead of having to have this entire database of local place marks that we needed for Varsity, instead our consumers are paying us to build this database of structured data. So what we're able to do is we're able to use the queries that come into the platform on demand, create that content for users, and then give that content to that user, making that user happy, and then building tools to search our database that we're building in order to make future queries more efficient. And so you're seeing this pattern again. The pattern is entry-level people, a private chat for the user, so I'm feeling like I'm having a one-on-one experience, but a group chat for the assistant. So because I'm only one person, I'm only a single assistant, if I need help assisting a specific request, that can get farmed out to an international group of people that can help answer those requests. In general, we're calling, or a lot of people that are operating in this category are calling it conversational commerce. And there's tons of companies doing really interesting things in the conversational commerce space. And if you're interested in hearing more about how we're revolutionizing conversational commerce for local and travel, I'd love to talk. And I'd also love to talk about all the other really interesting companies that are doing similar things in different spaces. So thank you so much.
It's very cool. I feel like kind of a rule of a lot of kind of startup investors is invest in things that don't scale, which brings me to the question of when this blows up even bigger than it is, how are you guys finding, sourcing people with the answers for all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. So the investing in things that don't scale. So 6 months ago, it was my co-founder Leanne and I answering the questions that came in. We've recently hired a team of about 10 assistants, and the way that we're finding these assistants is that there's tons of people that are interested in having lifestyles where you can travel and do your job just from a computer. There's lots of popular sites that have popped up, such as Nomad List, where people are looking for jobs that allow them to do this. There's a really interesting article in Forbes last week about this new generation of travel agents that they're like 19 and 20-year-olds that just love traveling and they want to fuel that lifestyle. So, we posted a job request and we had like 150 people that were interested. So we definitely think that we can supply the demand side of things.
Any questions out there?
Yeah, so website is nativeapp.com. We're in beta right now. We're distributing over an enterprise distribution license, so you're not going to find us in the App Store. But if you sign up and you get a nice, friendly, automated email from me, mention that you saw me here at Street Fight, and I'll go ahead and get you access to the beta. Yes, we are. We're at Galvanize, right above Kitchen Next Door. Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So all of our people that are interacting directly with the customer, their only job is interacting directly with the customer, and they're in-house people. So the person that's carrying on the chat is someone that we've vetted and we've hired. And occasionally in the app, we ask you how your assistant is doing to kind of monitor quality there. All the long-running tasks, the difficult stuff like finding a place to eat or dealing with a United delay, that we outsource to a separate team so that two-way communication doesn't get delayed. So it looks like Paul, your travel assistant, is doing all the work for you, but really someone else is doing that work and then Paul's presenting it back. So Paul then becomes the kind of quality control person because they're an in-house person. They vet every chat that comes back and forth, but they don't need to write every chat that comes back and forth, and that's what makes them efficient. Awesome.
Any other questions?
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Next up, we have Tom from Hyprloco.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you about Hyprloco. Hyprloco is a real-time location intelligence platform. So, Hyprloco is a veteran-founded company. I want to tell you a little bit about the history of the company. Two guys. First guy was in the Army, and he was a tanker over in Iraq, and he understood GPS and the idea of blowing things up. Great. Well, blowing things up is, I guess, fun, and he started realizing the worry, though, of blowing things up when you don't know what's going on inside the buildings. So he came back stateside and really wanted to focus on figuring out how to solve the indoor location problem. He ended up meeting a former Marine who had watched Minority Report way back when, started writing code because he thought, this is kind of fun, I can do this. Together, they put together Hyprloco. They built this platform that does essentially asset tracking, so finding people, finding things, and providing notifications. And we do this using proximity-enabled technologies. I'm not talking about beacons. I could be talking about beacons, but it's one of the many different types of signals we work with. So we have a bunch of different applications out there that we can work with. We can find in a hospital certain types of medical devices, bring a notification so you can go hunt down that medical device. You don't have to search for it, and the surgery can continue on. We've had issues where we've worked with some companies where that actually is an issue. It wouldn't have ever occurred to me. We do very customized advertisements. So we can find out something about your customer and then contextualize the ad and put it up onto a digital sign or your phone. So we have the ability to send a message to multiple platforms. And in manufacturing, we can, again, do asset tracking, or more interestingly, we do geofencing, and when somebody walks inside of a fence, we can make notifications. So maybe in manufacturing, you're working with some very dangerous equipment. The dangerous equipment could be life-threatening. You get too close to the equipment, we can actually shut that equipment down. So our goal is to simply spatially enable your app. Big market. Don't have a lot of time to talk about it, so I'm going to continue on, I think. Okay, so how does this whole thing work? What's the life cycle? So on the B2B front, I simply put a signal out there, maybe a beacon. I put the beacon on the asset I'm interested in. And I have two approaches here. One is I can just go and find that asset. The other is when another beacon or signal gets within a certain distance of that, that's going to force an action, which will be doing something within the Hyprloco cloud. So we have a cloud system here. We can make calls out to an ERP. We can make a call to a CRM. We have the ability to make a call to really any database that you want. Being that we're XML-based, we're not tied to any specific database. We will then go ahead, contextualize the response you want, and send that message. We could send a message out to a kiosk. We are doing something with just-in-time learning right now. So we can send a message to a kiosk. We could send a message to a digital sign, or as I mentioned before, if need be, we could shut down a machine. The B2C lifecycle, not a heck of a lot different. The big difference, though, is we have, rather than just a beacon, we use the phone. And so to find a person, we simply work with the phone. Somebody comes within a distance of a beacon. It's going to fire off a Hyprloco service. One of our many services, I think we have somewhere over 100 different calls, perform an action that has been customized based on your needs. Maybe we're going to go out to big data, grab some big data. Maybe we're going to go to a social media site, find some information about the user. Again, people have already opted in, so yes, there is a privacy concern. We are aware of that, but if you opt in, we can go ahead and do that. Grab the information, again, contextualize it, send this information out to a digital sign, kiosk, back to your phone, or audio. You heard a little bit about this earlier today. Now, I personally don't like to shop, but if I happen to be walking by a store and I heard music coming out of that store that I like, there's a possibility I'm going to go in. Most likely I am going to go in, check it out, walk around there, potentially buy something. How are we doing this? We simply go look at their music store, grab the information that they are typically listening to, and start playing it back. Okay, that's great for a one-on-one scenario, but in a mall, how do we do this? Simply look at the demographics and go with the majority, and basically majority wins. This can change at certain cadences. You obviously don't want the music to be changing constantly, but you can go ahead and change this. Our intelligent signage, so imagine a lot of you flew in, maybe you were stuck at an airport, you go to the VIP lounge, you happen to have an app on your phone for that lounge, and you look and you see a sign that has your name, your flight, when it's leaving. Since you're coming to Colorado, you see the weather, and you might also see an advertisement. We're going to make an assumption, maybe you're going to go skiing, maybe you're going to go snowboarding. You'll see an advertisement that's been customized and tailored to you. So what's our goal? Our goal is simply to create a safer, smarter environment. Essentially physical cookies for the real world. We can do this with geofences. We can do this with wayfinding, so I can get you from point A to point B in as quick a manner as possible. We're talking to some Department of Homeland Security, doing some secure-based stuff to get people out of buildings as quick as possible. So our goal here is to grab customer preferences and make their stay that much more enjoyable, be it in entertainment, leisure, what have you. Very quickly here, 'cause I am out of time. Our signals, we're signal agnostic. We can work with beacons, iBeacons. We work with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. We work with RFID, NFC cards. We are an open data model, as I mentioned. We have a rules-based engine, so we can customize based on your needs. And we're client independent. So iOS, Android, if you want to use BlackBerry, we can do it. If you want to check out our website, we have a couple demos out there. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. So you mentioned a few different use cases, a few different verticals. What would you say your kind of core focus? It sounds like you've got some military, some retail, some hospital. What's your kind of, you guys, your focus over the next few months?
So great question, thank you. Our primary focus, we really have two, which is in the manufacturing space. We've had a lot of traction in the manufacturing space, a lot of interest in the manufacturing space. And then in the secure environment, be it Department of Homeland Security, a couple other government and quasi-government agencies have been talking to us because they're very excited about the fact that we can actually listen for a Bluetooth signal, listen for Wi-Fi, and then perform an action based on that.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Yep, I have to say. Up next, we have Megan from Choozle.
Hello, everyone. So here I'm to talk about, data-driven digital marketing, and I think, it's a common theme that we've been hearing today. But, kind of where did marketing start? So it started in very traditional methods. You'd place a billboard sign and hope that the audience that was driving by was the correct audience, or you would put, an ad in a magazine and hope your audience was on that. And then it kind of moved towards, digital space where you'd call, CNN.com or, Huffington Post and say, I want to take up your sports section and hope that your audience was on there. Whereas, online has, revolutionized that. You not only can, it allows for flexibility in your budgets and who you're targeting, as well as transparency and control, as well as the real-time access to optimization. So it's no surprise that, digital marketing as a whole is growing. It's, 14% in, 2014. So, but just like any other method, you're faced with all these questions of where I should put my placements, what they should be, whether it's the creative or the audience that I'm targeting, as well as the tools. So like what's the time frame of, that I should set up my campaign for. So that's kind of where Choozle fits in. So we give you the ability to not only understand your audience who's coming to your website, but also tie that directly into your ad campaigns, knowing that once you have more information about your desired consumer, that you can find those same people online and convert those into customers. So that gives you accessibility to accurate targeting, that real-time optimization, as well as efficiency to be able to scale your business even further. So targeting with data. So you do everything online, whether and offline. So you're purchasing, milk in the store, those, just like the MasterCard session before, you're able to take that information and make it digital. And that information is then tied with everything else you're doing online, whether you're going to a sports site or you're going to, look at cars, that all that information about you can not only make your experience better, but also as marketers, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to target someone. So, using the example, you can target someone that's a male that, between the age of 30 to 34 and that is in market, for an SUV in the next 3 months, and then layer on that geolocation. So, a store or a car dealership can specifically give them an ad that is relevant to them. Kind of what was said this morning. You're going to show them an SUV if they live in Texas, but you're going to show them a Prius, if they live in California. And then, digital, unlike, traditional methods where you would hope you would, put that billboard and someone come into your store, and purchase a product ultimately, digital allows you for that real-time optimization and be able to very quickly, change out creative based on, an influx of products that you have in your store, as well as be able to test whether it's your creative or your landing pages in hopes that it, converts. As well as be able to offer, sequential products. So if someone purchased, hiking boots, then maybe 2 days later they're going to buy, a hiking bag, for example. And then most importantly, putting the money where it works. Too often are we spending money in places that we don't really know if it works. So, if you're able to see it in real time, you can move that money very quickly. And then most importantly is, all this stuff is great, but how do you do it efficiently and it's going to save time as well as save money? So with Choozle, we kind of have combined a large majority of the kind of tools that you would do in the digital, programmatic advertising space. And one of those being your tag management, so you can streamline pixel placements and conversion pixels, be able to, understand your audience with data management, as well as creative tools. So, you can very easily, create HTML5 ads, on the fly that then sync directly with your RSS feeds, as well as, more importantly, drive that, programmatic media buying to then convert more customers and bring them back to your website to complete the whole circle. So as I was saying, Choozle kind of answers that question of kind of where should I place, my ads and who should I be targeting, as well as how I should be doing it. If you have any questions, feel free to find me afterwards or find out more information on choozle.com.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Got the same question for you. Who's your customer? Who do you guys work with? Who's kind of in that sweet spot?
Yeah. I think what's a huge benefit of Choozle itself is that majority of platforms, they require you to spend huge amounts of money, have a minimum ad requirement, and we don't. You can come in starting at $199 a month, so you can fit for small businesses as well as agencies, and the media spend is all based upon what you want to spend. So we kind of fit in pretty much anywhere, but I think our sweet spot is definitely digital agencies and people in the digital space.
Any questions?
We kind of have both. Kind of what I was saying, the two predominant areas of our platform is a DSP or demand side platform, and then the data side of it is our data management platform or your DMP. And bringing those tools together is kind of, makes your life easier at the end of the day, because traditionally you'd have to go to different platforms and none of them would talk to each other. So bringing them together really saves the day.
Any other questions? Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Again, if you have any questions for our startups, please come and find them later today. Thanks again.